Welcome to KenKens. These are my absolute favorite brain teaser and a nice way to kind of challenge your brain as you're done with quizzes, done with tests in the morning right away. This is a kind of good activity to kind of just challenge your brain with a little bit of a puzzle. How this works is you have columns that have 5 cells in each, and you have rows that have 5 cells in each. So each one has 5, and then each column has 5 as well. With those 5, that means you're only using the numbers 1 through 5 in order to solve. So the only numbers that you'll ever use in this puzzle are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, because there's only room for 5 spaces, and that's the numbers we use. So it works like Sudoku, where I need to have every single number in every row and in every column. So every row is going to include numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, as well as every column. Now the order is going to matter because you can't have any repeats in any rows or columns. So if I know that this is going to be the number 5, and I'll explain why later, I know I can't have any more 5s in that row or any more 5s in that column. So now that 5, and I would kind of have to use logic, use reasoning to figure out what other numbers can fit in there to make it work. Now, I was able to put the number 5 here because we have these things called cages. Cages are these blocked off regions. They can be 1 cell, they can be 3 cells wide, they can be 3 cells all in a row. So all those are different cages. Within those cages, you'll always see an operation, multiplication, addition, subtraction, and division. You'll also see a number. That number is the answer for a math problem. So for instance, in this cage, this 30 multiply cage, what this is saying is that these 3 numbers that are going to go in those cells, those 3 numbers, when multiplied together, are going to equal 30. So you got to think to yourself, of these 5 numbers, between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, what are 3 numbers that I can multiply together in order to equal 30? And since they're all in the same column, they can't repeat. So I can't have, say, 3 times 1 times 10, even though 10 is not an option. But they can't repeat at all. So I'm looking for what are 3 numbers that I can multiply together to equal 30. Well, I know that I can get 2 times 5 to equal 10. I can multiply that by 3 in order to get to 30. So I'm probably going to use those 3 numbers in some order, but I don't know what order yet, so I can't really quite fill those in. What I can fill in are the numbers that they give me already. So if you notice from the beginning, I put a number 5 in that single cage. Because there is no operation, all it had was an answer, and so I know for sure that this number 5 is exactly what I need to go in this single cage right over here, because the answer that was given to me just had a 5 without any operations. So I know that that 5 must go there. Now that tells me that a 5 can't go anywhere above or below. Let's see, where else can I look here? Now, other ways that you can help start would be if I look at, like, say, this 3 column. Now I'm looking for 3 numbers that, when I multiply them together, equal 9. Now if you notice that this cell and this cell are in different rows and columns, that means they could technically be the same number, because they're not interfering with each other. They're not in the same row, not in the same column. There's no repeats. They're just in the same cage, and they don't necessarily need to have, you can have different numbers in the same cage. That works out because the only way that I can multiply 3 numbers together to get 9 is to take 3 times 3 times 3 times 1. 3 times 3 is 9, times 1 is 9. And that's the only combination of those 5 numbers that I can do to multiply together to equal 9. So now I got to figure out what order these can go in. Since I have 2 3s, I can't put them in the same row or the same column. So that means those 3s must go there. Because they're not in the same row, not in the same column, that leaves this is my only spot for my 1 to go. So you have to go systematically through this whole puzzle, trying to figure out how can I know for sure where numbers go without having any repeats in the rows, without having any repeats in the columns, and with all of those cages using those same operations, whether it be multiplication, addition, subtraction, or division, to get those different answers in those cages. And that's how we do KenKens. Let me know how I can help.